Ukraine's ambition to join the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, NATO, was at the top of the reasons why Russia, led by President Vladimir Putin, launched a war on Ukraine to prevent NATO's eastward expansion and approaching Russia's borders. In his speeches, Putin repeatedly expressed the extent of Russian concern about the possibility of Ukraine joining NATO, demanding strict guarantees from the United States and its allies that this would not happen. So what is NATO? Why does NATO not intend to intervene to help Ukraine? And does NATO have a special army? The main objective of the formation of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, NATO, in 1949 was to deter any expansionist threat by the Soviet Union on the European continent after the end of World War II. It seems that over the years, the United States saw in NATO a way to prevent the reemergence of nationalist currents in Europe, and also to promote political integration on the continent. The idea of creating NATO actually dates back to 1947, when the United Kingdom and France concluded the Treaty of Dunkirk as an agreement for a joint alliance against a possible attack by Germany in the aftermath of the war. Of the alliance's 30 member states, 27 are in Europe, 2 in North America, and 1 in Asia. All member states have armies except Iceland, which does not have a typical army but does have a coast guard and a small contingent of civilian specialists for NATO operations. 3 NATO member states possess nuclear weapons: France, the United Kingdom, and the United States. The alliance was initially established with 12 countries. 3 more members joined between 1952 and 1955, and a 4th new member joined in 1982. After the end of the Cold War, NATO added another 14 members from 1999 to 2020. Membership of NATO is open to any other European country that can promote the principles of this treaty and contribute to the security of the North Atlantic region. NATO headquarters are located in Brussels. Every day, member states consult and make decisions on security issues at all levels and in a variety of areas. NATO resolutions are an expression of the collective will of all 30 member states, where all decisions are taken unanimously. Hundreds of officials, as well as civilian and military experts, attend NATO headquarters daily in Brussels, Belgium, to exchange information, share ideas, and help prepare decisions when needed, in cooperation with national delegations and staff at NATO headquarters. NATO operations and missions. In addition to its traditional role in the regional defense of allied countries, NATO commands the UN-mandated ISAF and has ongoing missions in the Balkans and the Mediterranean. It also conducts extensive training and provides security support to partners around the world, including the European Union, the United Nations, and the African Union. NATO plays an active role in a wide range of crisis management operations and missions, including civil emergency operations. Why does NATO not want to intervene militarily in Ukraine? Ukraine is not a member of NATO, so the alliance does not have to defend it. However, it is a partner country, and this means that there is an understanding between it and the alliance that it will join it at some point in the future. That is why some NATO countries have long been sending weapons to Ukraine to help it defend itself against Russia. The United States sent it $200 million worth of weapons, including Javelin anti-tank missiles and Stinger anti-aircraft missiles, and allowed other NATO countries to supply U.S.-made weapons to Ukraine. Washington says it will send an additional $350 million in weapons, including anti-aircraft systems and protective suits. Britain sent 2,000 short-range anti-tank missiles and says it will send more weapons in the future. Germany decided to send 1,000 pieces of anti-tank weapons and 500 Stinger missiles. It removed some restrictions on other countries sending German-made weapons to Ukraine. The Netherlands also decided to send 200 anti-aircraft missiles, while Belgium decided to send 2,000 machine guns and fuel, and Sweden would send 5,000 anti-tank weapons, helmets, and protective suits. And many countries have done the same. The European Union said it would spend up to €450 million to finance arms supplies to Ukraine. This is the first time in its history that the European Union has helped provide weapons to a war zone. One of Russia's pre-invasion demands was that Ukraine should never be allowed to join NATO, something the alliance refused to agree to. Russia fears that NATO is encroaching on its spheres of influence by attracting new members in Eastern Europe, and that accepting Ukraine into the alliance will bring NATO forces into its own backyard. Does NATO have a private army? The answer is no. NATO relies on its troop-contributing member states, which means that it is just as strong as each individual country's forces. It is in the interest of the entire coalition to make sure that each country puts in enough resources to defend it. This has been one of the sticking points in the alliance, as the US and UK often criticize other member states for not setting their fair share. U.S. military spending has always exceeded the budgets of other allies since the founding of NATO in 1949, but the gap widened when the United States boosted spending after the 9/11 attacks. Under NATO guidelines, each country must spend 2% of its GDP on defense, but most countries do not reach that goal. According to the latest estimates issued by NATO, 7 countries – Greece, the United States, Croatia, the United Kingdom, Estonia, Latvia, Poland, Lithuania, Romania, and France have achieved the 2% target in 2021. This is a huge improvement. In 2014, only the US, UK, and Greece spent more than 2%. And with this, our episode for today is over. If you liked the video, don't forget to like and share. And the people who are the first time you see us, make a subscribe and activate the bell to get you our videos first. See you in the next episode.